everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level business English lesson, and today we're going to be continuing our discussion of cultural differences in international business, and we'll be using the third conditional. All right, so Gary and Iabo describe mistakes they made at work, and have you ever had similar experiences? You can pause the video and read this on your own, or you can follow along as I read, and then you can leave your answers to that question in the comments. So Gary says, last week I had to give a presentation to an important client. I arrived early and I waited for a long time for the client to come. Eventually, my coworker came and told me that the client was waiting in room 203. I was in room 302. The client wasn't happy because I wasted her time. If I had checked my schedule carefully, I would have gone to the right room. Iabo says, last month I wanted a cup of coffee. I couldn't find my cup, so I used my colleague's cup instead. As I was walking back to my desk, I dropped the cup and it broke. I felt terrible. My colleague was on vacation, so I worried about it for a week. When I told him about what had happened, he just laughed. He said that he didn't like the cup. If I had known that, I wouldn't have worried about it. So look again at the if statements that Gary and Iyabo used and then answer the questions. So if I had checked my schedule carefully, I would have gone to the right room. So did Gary check his schedule carefully? No, he did not. And did he go to the right room? No, he did not. Iyabo said, if I had known that, I wouldn't have worried about it. Did Iyabo know that her coworker didn't like the cup? No, she didn't know that. And did she worry about it? Yes, she did worry about it. So we use the third conditional to talk about imagined or unreal situations in the past. A third conditional is always used for an impossible situation because it describes something in the past that did not occur. So if I had checked my schedule carefully, I would have gone to the right room. Gary didn't check his schedule carefully, and he didn't go to the right room. And Iyabo, if I had known that, I wouldn't have worried about it. So Iyabo didn't know that her coworker didn't like the cup, and she worried about it. So now look carefully at how we form the third conditionals. So in the if clause, it's if plus the past perfect, which we form by using had plus the past participle. And then the result clause is would have or would not have plus the past participle. So if I had known that, I wouldn't have worried about it. If I had checked my schedule carefully, I would have gone to the right room. If you hadn't run to the station, you would have missed your train. If we hadn't worked so hard, we wouldn't have finished on time. We usually use would in the result clause, but we can also use could or might. If I had had more time, I might have finished the report. So now match the sentence halves to make a complete third conditionals, and more than one answer might be possible. So go ahead and pause the video, try this on your own, and then you can restart when you're ready to check your answers. So if we had worked harder, we would have finished earlier. If I had seen you earlier, I would have told you. If they had prepared more, their presentation would have been better. If she had told us about the problem, we could have helped her. And if he hadn't sent the sales email, we wouldn't have known about the sales figures. Now complete the third conditionals below using the correct forms of the verbs in parentheses. You can pause the video, try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So if I hadn't Oops. And the N isn't typing. Should be if I JDN apostrophe. If I hadn't studied, trouble here. So if I hadn't studied computer science in college, I would not have become a software engineer. If we hadn't taken a risk with the project, we wouldn't have succeeded. If she had known about the marketing conference, she would have gone. If we had offered a lower price during the negotiation, they would have accepted. He would have helped you if you had asked him. If I hadn't gotten the job, I would have been very disappointed. Now, West Coast Beans is a popular U.S. coffee shop chain. Read the information and discuss the questions. Again, you can pause the video and read these on your own, or you can follow along as I read. West Coast Beans has coffee shops all over the United States. It uses a fast coffee approach, trying to get as many customers in and out as possible. It sells sweet, mild coffee mixed with chocolate and ice cream. It mainly targets younger customers and creates a cool image. It is now trying to expand to other countries. Now, do you think West Coast Beans will be successful everywhere? What types of coffee shops will be popular in other countries? And what changes might West Coast Beans need to make? You can answer those questions with your thoughts in the comments. Now we're going to read the article, and you can pause the video, read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. So why did West Coast Beans have problems in the new market? West Coast Beans not a good fit. If a business model works in one country, that doesn't mean that it will work in another country. West Coast Beans learned this lesson when they tried to open their famous coffee shops in Israel. When West Coast Beans first entered the local market, it formed a partnership with one of the largest local companies, which runs a chain of gas stations and convenience stores. With their help, they opened 6 stores in the capital city. There was a big opportunity because although there were hundreds of local cafes in the city, there was no market leader at the time. The problem was that West Coast Beans did not change its business model for the different culture. West Coast Beans likes to serve as many customers as possible, so they try to get customers in and out as fast as possible. But the local customers didn't like this. Local customers prefer a slower coffee experience. They like to sit down with their friends and have a chat while slowly drinking a cup of coffee. On top of that, West Coast Beans didn't change their options to offer the type of coffee that local people prefer. Local cafes typically offer Italian-style drinks like espresso or strong Turkish coffee. This is very different from the type of coffee that West Coast Beans was trying to sell. People believe that local cafes serve better, stronger, and cheaper coffee options than West Coast Beans. So West Coast Beans never became popular and they decided to close their stores there after only 2 years. The losses would have been too high if they had stayed. So after the failure to expand internationally, the West Coast Beans team meets to discuss what happened. So make some third conditional sentences about what happened. So here is one. If we had done more market research, we would have been better prepared to enter the local market. And then you can complete the rest of these in the comments with your ideas from the article. All right, now listen to Josh talking with his boss. I'm not sure how to say that. Keiji Tanaka, about the team's recent performance. Decide if the statements are true or false.
Good afternoon, Josh.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tanaka.
Before we begin, I just want to say congratulations. Your division had very good results this quarter. So nice job.
Thanks, Mr. Tanaka. I'm very proud of all our hard work, especially the work of Shinji Otani and Hiroshi Yamada. To recognize their hard work, I've made some changes to our sales team. I've created team leaders in each group. I promoted Mr. Otani and Mr. Yamada to lead their teams. Both of them have performed great work recently, and I think this will help the teams to perform even better. I met with everyone this morning and told them the news.
Thanks for letting me know. I hope that decision helps the teams to have even more success next quarter.
Okay, so Mr. Tanaka, they didn't tell us how to say his name, is unhappy with Josh's results. That's false. He said that the results were very good and he was happy with them. Josh has decided to appoint new leaders because of their hard work. That's true. And Josh thinks the changes will help the team to improve. That's true. So Josh has decided to appoint new leaders. Was this the right decision? And then you can answer these questions in the comments. How important do you think choosing leaders is? What effect can a good leader have on a team? And what issues can choosing the wrong leader cause? Okay, 3 months later, Josh again meets with Mr. Tanaka. So listen to the conversation and then answer the questions.
Let's look together at your results. The numbers have decreased almost 20% from last quarter. What happened?
I don't know. I thought that introducing team leaders would increase sales, but it seems that it had the opposite effect. I think that I might have chosen the wrong people to lead the teams. I can choose new team leaders.
Hmm. You can select new leaders if you think that will help, but the men that you chose were two of our best employees. When you made them team leaders, it might have had an effect on the harmony of the group. In Japan, we work hard for the group, not for one person.
You were right. I guess I shouldn't have made any changes.
Okay, so what has happened since the sales figures since last quarter? Well, they went down by, I believe he said 20%. What does Josh think was the reason for this? He thinks he chose the wrong people as leaders. And how does Mr. Tanaka explain what happened? He thinks that choosing leaders damaged the harmony of the group. And what do you think Josh should have done before appointing the new leaders? And you can answer that question in the comments and try to use a third conditional. So think about what happened. Make third conditional sentences to describe how things could have been different. So here we have an example. If the sales figures hadn't been good, it says John, but his name was Josh. Josh wouldn't have wanted to reward two members of the team. And if he hadn't wanted to reward them, he wouldn't have decided to make them leaders. And if, so then continue it on with using third conditional statements. Now read about Jatao's day and use some third conditionals to describe how things could have been different. And here they've gotten you started. If Jatao had set his alarm clock, he wouldn't have woken up late. And if he hadn't woken up late, he wouldn't have missed the bus. And if he hadn't missed the bus, And then you continue with the last two. And here's another bad day, Sakai's bad day. So again, use third conditionals to describe how things could have been different. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, participate in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.